Good evening, everyone, and welcome into another Monday Unrivaled Rundown. Back-to-back weeks with the Unrivaled Rundown on Monday. What is going on? But nevertheless, it is a pleasure to have you in as we recap the 1v1 tournament in Unrivaled. Originally, I wasn't going to do this, but the tournament was too good, and so I said, you know what the heck, I'll go ahead and break it down for you. And a quick little note, Ohio State did end up holding on to beat Iowa 86-78 in women's college basketball in overtime. And the fact that that game even went to overtime and Ohio State blowing that lead with 2 minutes left was crazy in and of itself. But nevertheless, it's a pleasure to have you in. And now we're going to get to the games. Beginning in Pod A, we had Jewel Lloyd, the number 1 seed, advancing to the second round with a bye. Alyssa Thomas and Natasha Cloud were both out with injuries, which caused Azarae Stevens and Ray Burrell, respectively, to advance to the first round. So the only first round matchup in this pod was Shakira Austin, the 7 seed, getting a huge upset win, dominating the number 2 seed Chelsea Gray 12-2. That one, honestly, I did not see coming. And then in the second round, Ray Burrell took down the number 1 seeded Jewel Lloyd 11-4, and then Azarae Stevens took down Shakira Austin with that same score of 11-4. And then in the quarterfinal, Azarae Stevens absolutely dominant in that game. She defeated the 4 seed Ray Burrell to advance to the Final Four. And then in Pod B, we had the 1 seed Napheesa Collier defeat Katie Lou Samuelson 12-6. Ryan Howard defeated Lexi Hall 12-7. Tiffany Hayes was out with injury, which caused Courtney Williams to advance. And Rikia Jackson, who was incredible in that game, took down Jackie Young 11-3. And then in the second round, Napheesa Collier took down Rikia Jackson 12-5. And then Courtney Williams was really competitive in that game against Ryan Howard. I thought Courtney Williams was going to blow the game for a second, because she was beginning the game, I believe, on an 8-0 run. And then Ryan Howard stormed back and took a 1-point lead. And then Courtney Williams ended up winning the game, I believe, on a free throw, if I'm not mistaken. And then in the quarterfinal, Owls teammates, Napheesa Collier and Courtney Williams. Collier defeated Williams 12-4 in a pretty non-competitive matchup. And then in the Pod C first round, Aaliyah Edwards. Now this was the story of the tournament. Aaliyah Edwards blanked Breanna Stewart 12-0. And oh my gosh, there were a lot of comments on Stewart. And honestly, to an extent, I think Breanna Stewart showed her age a little bit in this game, in this tournament game, as far as that's concerned. I mean, getting blanked in the tournament, I mean, wow. But nevertheless, the number 2 seed, Kalia Copper, defeated Aaliyah Boston 11-6. Number 3, Alicia Gray, who was also incredible in the tournament, she defeated Jordan Canada 11-4. And there was no game with Marina Mabry, my goodness, try saying that 5 times fast, and Kate Martin, as they were both out due to injuries. Second round, Aaliyah Edwards walked over, and then Alicia Gray defeated Kalia Copper 11-5, and then in the quarterfinal, Aaliyah Edwards, with another dominant game, took down Alicia Gray 12-6. And then finally in Pod D, Arike Agumbawale advanced with a bye. Dejanay Carrington walked over as Kayla McBride was out due to injury. Satu Sabali advanced because of injury with Brittany Skies. And then Skylar Diggins-Smith defeated number 5 De'Erica Hamby 11-3. And I thought this would be a competitive game between the two. Come to find out, it wasn't as competitive as I thought. And then later in the second round, Arike Agumbawale defeated Sky Diggins-Smith. Now that game was competitive, even though I thought anyway that Arike was going to make quick work of Sky Diggins-Smith. She really held her own in the game, but Arike getting the win there. And then Satu Sabali beat Dejanay Carrington by a score of 11-4. And then in the quarterfinal, Arike Agumbawale defeated Satu Sabali 12-8 in a game that I thought was going to expire before anybody hit the score limit. So there we go there. All right, in the final four, you had Napheesa Collier taking on Azare Stevens. And I thought that game would have been competitive. It really wasn't. Napheesa making quick work of Azare Stevens, 11-2. And number 8, Aaliyah Edwards, getting another upset win against Arike Agumbawale. That score also 11-2. And then in the final, it was a best of 3. Winning score was 8. Aaliyah Edwards took the first game with a score of 9-6, and then after that it was all Napheesa, winning game 2 and game 3 with a score of 9-4 and 9-0, and Napheesa Collier is your unrivaled 1v1 champion. All right, a couple of takeaways from the tournament. Number 1, this was an incredible tournament. It was exciting. There was a lot of drama, a lot of physicality. I mean, just like Alicia Grace said in the post game, and I believe her first game, who don't want no money? And the players were definitely playing like they wanted the money, so that's definitely a good job there. And number 2, I really thought that the 2 best players outside of Collier, obviously, but the 2 best players in the other 2 best players were Aaliyah Edwards and Azare Stevens. I mean, Azare Stevens with the length, I mean, she was pretty much dominant throughout the tournament until she took on Napheesa, who really was just too strong and just too physical in this tournament, and that was a little difficult to overcome. And Aaliyah Edwards ultimately going to the final, and I thought Aaliyah Edwards had a good shot to win it, but like I said, Napheesa's physicality was too much as far as the tournament is concerned, and she ended up getting the win. And another thing that I saw, a lot of people really think that Napheesa winning the 1v1 tournament was somewhat of a bad look. I mean, I don't really understand why it would be much of a bad look. Now, granted, she is one of the co-founders of the league, but my thing is, I mean, Breanna Stewart didn't even score a single point. Now, if it was Stewie and Collier in the final, then maybe you could have had something there, but I think it was just Napheesa just being good and dominant, and of course her physicality, and it was great competition. So I don't think it was all that bad, and that was a good job by Napheesa there on winning the 1v1 tournament. All right, so that is your Unrivaled 1v1 recap. We have games resuming tomorrow night. We have the Rose taking on the Vinyl at 7:30, and then we have the Phantom and Laces at 8:30. I don't really know much of the injury status of the Laces, so that's something we'll have to pay attention to. Well, friends, that is going to do it for this week's Unrivaled Rundown. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to follow me on Twitter or X at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. And also follow me on Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky now. That's also CWTALKS Sports. Enjoy the games this upcoming weekend and of course tomorrow night. And we will be back in our regular Tuesday slot next week. We'll see you then. Good night, everyone.